Okay, hello and welcome to another hour at the Golden Hour. Today I am starting later than I thought. I knew I was going to need to start late because I needed to help my kids with some school stuff, but I didn't realize it would be this late. But that's all right. Um, but basically, I don't know how long I'll be able to go. Um, Maybe half an hour, maybe 50 minutes. We'll just have to see. Um, and I will not be able to do a stream on Monday. So normally I am here Monday through Friday, 9:45 to 10:45 a.m. Central Standard Time in the United States. But I won't be able to do it Monday. And then Tuesday, I either won't be able to do it or we'll be starting late again. We'll kind of have to see how that goes. But hopefully, we can get back to our regularly scheduled programming on Wednesday. But for now, I will catch us up on what I read from Sapiens yesterday because we're going through that book. Um, okay, so we left off talking about limited liability corporations being what's considered legal fictions. And he's focusing on the idea of humans' ability to use fictive language as basically the thing that united us in large numbers and attributed to our success. Um, so I can just read through what I underlined. Um, so this is one thing that made me laugh. When in 1896 Armand Peugeot wanted to create his company, he paid a lawyer to go through all these sacred procedures. Once the lawyer had performed all the right rituals and pronounced all the necessary spells and oaths, millions of upright French citizens behaved as if the Peugeot company really existed. So I just love, when he's kind of, turning the language on its head and saying, yes, when, we say, uh, there now exists a company. It's a thing. We can address the company. The company's not a person or the factory or any of the physical things we can see, but there's a company now. Like it's magic. So these telling effective stories is not easy. The difficult lies not in telling the story, but in convincing everyone else to believe it. Much of history revolves around this question. How does one convince millions of people to believe particular stories about gods or nations or limited liability companies? Yet, when it succeeds, it gives Sapiens immense power because it enables millions of strangers to cooperate and work toward common goals. Just try to imagine how difficult it would have been to create states or churches or legal systems if we could speak only about things that really exist, such as rivers, trees, and lions. So, yeah, these are the things that we call social constructs. And then, let's see, I underlined, unlike lying, an imagined reality is something that everyone believes in. And as long as this communal belief persists, the imagined reality exerts force in the world. Um, and we have, ever since the cognitive revolution, sapiens have thus been living in a dual reality. On the one hand, the objective reality of rivers, trees, and lions, and on the other hand, the imagined reality of gods, nations, and corporations. As time went by, the imagined reality became ever more powerful, so that today, the very survival of rivers, trees, and lions depends on the grace of imagined entities such as the United States and Google. Um, let's see. I don't want to read too much. I can't decide. Maybe reading what I've underlined might take a little too long. Um, so the next point he outlines is essentially our behavior begins to be shaped um, by our fictions, by our myths more than our biology. So that our evolution as a species became more about our culture than our DNA. So this opened a fast lane of cultural evolution, bypassing the traffic jams of genetic evolution. Um, So he's saying the behavior of other social animals is determined to a large extent by their genes. But for us, significant changes in social behavior, oh, sorry, significant changes in social behavior cannot occur in general without genetic mutations. Okay, so he's saying that's what's typical of animal species. Um, and so he's saying, for similar reasons, archaic humans did not initiate any revolutions. As far as we can tell, changes in social patterns, the invention of new technologies, and the settlement of alien habitats resulted from genetic mutations and environmental pressures more than from cultural initiatives. This is why it took humans hundreds of thousands of years to make these steps. So he's saying before we had this influence of collective myths on our lives, the main influence of our behavior was our genetics, and that genetic mutations and the effects of them happen at a much, I think he's arguing, sort of slower pace. So, in contrast, ever since the cognitive revolution, sapiens have been able to change their behavior quickly, transmitting new behaviors to future generations without any need of genetic or environmental change. So, in other words, while the behavior patterns of archaic humans remained fixed for tens of thousands of years, sapiens could transform their social structures, the nature of their interpersonal relations, their economic activities, and a host of other behaviors within a decade or two. Let me pause there. Okay, that might be me. Okay, and then one thing that cracks me up is that he's showing a picture here of the Pope, and the caption on the picture says, "The Catholic alpha male abstains from sexual intercourse and raising a family, even though there is no genetic or ecological reason for him to do so." So again, it's just so amusing and perspective altering to discuss things that we're used to seeing, that we're used to accepting when you discuss the, the practices in this case, let's say of the Pope, um, through a biological lens and call him not the Pope but the Catholic alpha male, and say there's no biological or environmental reason for him to behave this way, but he does. Um, it's just a fun opportunity to see it in a different way. Okay, and then he sort of highlights the idea of how trade was very important to the advancement of humans, and how that too, how trade, yes, gave us different goods to work with, but it probably also gave us different information as well. And so the way I sort of summarized what he wrote was, because he's saying trade is built on trust, and trust is something you don't necessarily have with strangers. But again, here comes that the myth, sort of influencing us. So if you share a common belief or a common myth, that can lead to trust, which can lead to trade, which can lead to goods, but can also lead to information, and wider knowledge creates survival advantages. So he's sort of looping in how that ability to hold on to myth again translates to being able to survive better, and talks about sapiens essentially organizing hunts, and things like that that gave him such an advantage. Yeah, I love something you said here. The cognitive revolution is accordingly the point when history declared its independence from biology. Until the cognitive revolution, the doings of all human species belonged to the realm of biology. I mean, is he not just the best? Like, what a mind. What a way to say that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. Let's see. What else? From the cognitive revolution onwards, historical narratives replace biological theories as our primary means of explaining the development of Homo sapiens. Historical narratives replace biological theories as our primary means of explaining the development of Homo sapiens. And he goes on to say, this does not mean that Homo sapiens and human culture became exempt from biological laws. We are still animals, and our physical, emotional, and cognitive abilities are still shaped by our DNA. But again, he's arguing we're shaped by much more than that at this point in our evolution. And then, let's see, what else? Yeah, one sort of note I made where, in reading about fiction, I was just saying, okay, I'm interested in thinking about planning as a fiction of sorts. Um, Planning and strategizing sort of involves imagined realities, things that are not currently present. And so, um, yeah, sort of that ability to think fictively um, isn't just for storytelling. It could also be for things like planning and strategizing, was one thought I had. Also, when he was talking about how changes in behavior as a result of genetic mutation happen slowly, like, why we didn't see archaic humans did not initiate any revolutions, etc., um, unless there was a genetic mutation that worked out. Um, um, so I was just saying, this may also help us understand why we don't see rapid evolution among other species in a way. Like it is a process when it's just based on genetic mutation that takes such a long time. Um, Okay, so now he's going to sort of go on to say, all right, so let's go sort of take a look at how we humans have been for a while. So the next chapter is called A Day in the Life of Adam and Eve. So like, what games did our Stone Age ancestors play in the arena of history? Um, what did they do when they woke up in the morning? What did they eat for breakfast and lunch? What were their societies like? Did they have monogamous relationships and nuclear families? Did they have ceremonies, moral codes, sports contests, and religious rituals? Did they fight wars, etc.? And one thing, bringing up, did they have monogamous relationships and nuclear families? Um, makes me think about, I think, some of our strongest fictive convictions, I think, are probably often most tied to our biology and survival. So I think that's why the idea of um, I think that's why things like monogamy or not can be so controversial. I think it's why, topics surrounding sex can get so heated because we know these things are directly linked to our survival. I know in a subconscious cellular way. um, and so, as we, even if the things we're feeling, creating, or doing around that subject is fictive, um, it makes sense to me why we hold those convictions really close. Anyway, so those are my musings on Sapiens thus far for today. I will reset the timer for what I don't know. I'll set it for what the most it could be, and then if I need to stop before then. So anyway, good luck with whatever you are working on today. Okay, so I see our timer's not quite up yet, but I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. Thanks for being patient with my different schedule. As I mentioned, I will not be doing a stream on Monday. If I do a stream on Tuesday, it will start late also, and things should be back to the regular schedule by Wednesday. So thanks for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.